Look at that. It says it's starting. Okay. All right. See if I see it. Oh, that's so cool. I do see it.
What do you see?
I see me on here. And I hear myself. Look at that. Awesome. Awesome.
Beautiful
I
stuff.
did it right. I did it right. I'm telling y'all, we always doing amazing things. Folks,
Yeah.
we are trying out a new streaming service. So we are making sure that it's going across all these different locations at the same time. And it looks like it is. Oh, look at that. It even has captions and everything. Look, I get so easily impressed. All
It's
right.
pretty fancy stuff.
Hey man, look, technology.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Thank you all so much for joining us today. I am Curtis Webster, the founding father of Dad's Married to Doctors and the resident trophy husband. I am working on getting this dad bod in shape. We are in the midst of a phenomenal challenge within our DMD Plus community. We're doing 75 hard. So I am working on actually living up to this trophy husband persona and that whole thing. So anyway, one of the folks that is going to help us and that has been helping us get our mind right and get, ready to handle all these different challenges and handle everything that comes at us by getting our mind right, getting our emotions in check is Dr. Doug Herr. Doug, thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you, Curtis. I appreciate it.
Oh, most definitely. Well, Dr. Doug has been a longtime friend of the DMD community, and he is and I'll let him introduce himself, but with his background in therapy, with his background in coaching, and his heart for helping people to get better and really achieve their maximum potential, he has been phenomenal helping me, as well as the other guys, the 40 plus guys that are in DMD Plus, to really figure out how we can level up. That's what we talk about. We created, number one, Dad's Married to Doctors to become the best versions of ourselves, the best husbands, the best fathers, and the best men. DMD Plus has allowed us a focused area to have coursework and bring in educators and coaches like Dr. Doug to walk us methodically through some of the aspects of doing that. And what we're going to talk about today is mindfulness and meditation. What is it? What is it not? Is it the poo-poo stuff that a lot of us like to think that it is? Or is it truly the secret that a lot of the most successful people have talked about, how it's allowed them to tap into, their creative juices, to tap into that next level of being able to control their thoughts, control their emotions, or even be more so in the moment to recognize when these things happen. And I'll even share some of my own personal experiences because I'm brand new to this. It was something I always read about and heard about, but I never knew how to really make it work. Am I doing it right? Am I doing it wrong? It doesn't need to be at a certain time of day. Can I be sitting up? Do I need to be laying down? So anyway, without further ado, Dr. Doug, let me have you introduce yourself for those that don't know you.
Sure. Yeah, this is, let's see here. I started out in engineering physics because I just wanted to understand how reality works and do something useful with that knowledge. And then I always thought the best part of it, though, was study breaks, where a 15-minute study break would turn into a 2-hour study break because of a great conversation. And as it turns out, that became much more my path, is, seeking the beauty of another human being and a great conversation. I can tell you, it's been a real joy for me to be involved with Dad's Married to Doctors, because I'm just liking hanging out with some amazing guys. And DMD Plus is fantastic. So I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. And Curtis, I just want to acknowledge you for all you've done to birth this community. I know it was a long journey. So I started out as a clinical psychologist, and in my work and practices there, the funny thing about being a doctor in psychology is you only learn about mental illness. They don't really tell you what mental health is. So if you can imagine going to a lawyer who's only studied crime rather than studying law, I found that relatively unsatisfying. And along with many psychologists and coaches, I moved into the realm of mental health And one of the primary tools is mindfulness, meditation. I like to think of it as the newly discovered scientific secret that's, hundreds, thousands of years old.
That's right. It's the new, right? The new old.
It's brand new 2,500-year-old, secret. Yeah, it's fantastic stuff. It's probably more like 8,000 years old. But
Oh, yeah.
But the thing I did after being a clinical psychologist was I was lucky enough to work as faculty at Vanderbilt in the Integrative Medical Center that was formerly the Vanderbilt Center for Integrative Health, and then was acknowledged by the Osher Foundation and became the Osher Center for Integrative Medicine at Vanderbilt, which was a really wonderful acknowledgement because we were the only clinical center in the world that he basically felt like we were the place he wanted to invest to grow clinical skills for clinical practice of integrative medicine. So that that got me in the direction of coaching, because health coaching, I was a health psychologist there and did health coaching. And that really leads you to what's below the suffering. I was working with chronic disease and chronic pain, and below the suffering, you get to what's important about people and what are their values and their belief, what's their purpose and their love and their passion. And that's what makes managing chronic disease and chronic pain worth the effort. So that led to me studying. I'm kind of a little junkie for studying, but
Yeah.
I think I'm currently in 4 or 5 trainings. But one of the most seminal ones was Julio Alaya and his daughter Veronica Love, who's one of my current coaches. They taught me ontological coaching, which is changing your way of being through changing your way of seeing the world and who you are. And mindfulness taps right into that. So I'm going to talk a little bit about meditation in general, and all of my knowledge flows from mindfulness studies and yoga. And I first came across mindfulness in not Buddhist teachings, where it's very common, although in truth, mindfulness is part of every religious practice. You could easily say that mindfulness is as common as breathing. So it's important to acknowledge that while the Buddha was a great teacher of mindfulness, in every religion, if you know what you're looking for, you can find the practice of concentration, the practice of mindfulness.
Love it.
Anyway, and Krishnamacharya yoga is the other piece of that. Mindfulness is in some way just a tiny slice of yoga, which is a broader platform of awareness development, I'll say. Anyway.
Yeah, no, that's good. And you have some slides that you're going to go through for us today, right?
Absolutely.
So as you pull those up, folks that are watching along with us, if you have some questions, drop them down in the comments below. We also have Jesse on here from DMD Plus, and he's going to pop in later on and have some questions. But what we're going to do is have Dr. Doug go through. He's got a few slides. He'll share a few different things, and we'll take about 20 minutes and talk about what meditation mindfulness looks like. We'll do a little bit of Q&A, and then we will go from there and hopefully leave from here understanding how we can be the better version of ourselves by kind of tapping into our thoughts and and what's going on in the moment. So Dr. Doug, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Curtis. And I'm trusting you can see the meditation slide now.
Sure can.
Okay, great. So our agenda for today, first of all, meditation, what's in it for you? Why bother? It's a perfectly good question. And I want to start out with some of the benefits. Although I'm going to be brief on that because I could spend a few days on that. Define meditation. Misconceptions is an important one in this culture. I want to present 6 distinctions that are important in meditation. Briefly, how to meditate mindfully. And then we'll do a demonstration meditation. That's going to be actually a 7th distinction. And give you a quick list of resources. There are tons of resources out there, but I'm just going to give you a few that I've come across and find useful. And then we'll do those questions. So What's in it for you? Benefits of meditation, I can't list them all. I literally, the changes that meditation brings from a neuroscientific point of view are so astounding. It's kind of like when a mother is loving her infant child, the brain development that happens there, it's just not even, you can't quantify. There's nothing more amazing than the human brain, and the connection between the primary caregiver and an infant does things for that infant that is just amazing. And meditation is a way as an adult that you can nurture and care for your brain. It's really a kind of, it's so beyond. I mean, I can't emphasize enough how important this is for folks to understand and to do. Jesus said a saying, now that you know these things, blessed are you if you do them. We're going to cover that.
Yeah, no, that's such a good
So,
point.
there are too many. I do not know them all. I don't think anyone really does. Brain science is in its infancy, and I said it's the most miraculous thing in the universe we're aware of is the human brain. And more importantly, it's like making your own personal telescope. Only you can realize the benefits in your own life that meditation can bring to you. Now, I do want to say a caveat. Power tools, this is a power tool. This is maybe the most powerful tool you can have is training your awareness. They can be dangerous, though. Usually not. I mean, I don't know how many people I've trained in meditation techniques, and I've almost never encountered a difficulty. But if there is one, I'm told it's these are the important ones. If you have PTSD where you have really severe flashbacks, like war veterans often do, sometimes people with complex PTSD who flash back to childhood trauma, that we don't want that. And if that starts to happen in mindfulness, that's not a good thing. Suicidal thoughts or morbid thinking for somebody who's really depressed, mindfulness can be good, but it can also get you stuck down a road that you don't need to go into. And Buddhists talk about wise avoidance. Usually we want to explore mental process, but if it's just going into this painful nowhere, you don't want to do that. So if either one of those things is happening, just stop. There's no virtue in increasing your suffering in this way. Get a cup of tea, take a walk, call me, call a friend, learn yoga. Yoga is going to be better for you than mindfulness if you have one of those difficulties. And all of these things, if you're going to do it in a traditional way, they happen in the context of a supportive, caring relationship where the person who's guiding you is knowledgeable about your experience so they can make sure that you don't get hung up somewhere.
That's good. That's good.
What's in it for you? Let me tell you, the most basic important thing is it's the basis for emotional intelligence. It's really the ultimate kind of self-care. It starts with self-awareness. In mindfulness, you're looking inside yourself. A great book by a Google engineer called Search Inside Yourself. I'd commend that to anyone. I should have put that in the list of resources, but I didn't put books there. Self-regulation. When you are aware of what's happening inside you, you've already started to slow down processes that leap into action when you go into fight or flight. It's always at the worst possible moment, and it doesn't usually result in anything good. So you're automatically changing your self-regulation, but it also opens up the space so that you can start to see new possibilities for action. Live from your values instead of your impulses. Always a better choice. Another benefit of meditation is a mind-body connection, right? Our consciousness is so intense, unlike any other creature on the planet. We have it's like trying to, how do I say it? I don't know. It's kind of like the miracle of birth, right? Where you have this amazingly giant head coming out of this teeny tiny space. Our consciousness is like that. Maybe exactly like that. It's so big, and it's hard to keep it well connected to our bodies, and mindfulness helps do that. All of this will help you to see life in new ways. Most importantly, help you to see yourself in new ways. So those are some of the benefits. Now, if you understand what I'm saying, they're so basic. right? You see your life in a new way. You see yourself in a new way.
Right.
It's impossible to calculate how might that change something in your life. It's incredibly powerful.
You know,
Okay.
Doug, but before you go into the definition,
Uh-huh.
just when you were talking about being able to catch yourself in the moment and being able to make sure that you're focusing or doing something based on your actual intentions versus just reacting to what's happening in the moment. You know, as a parent, we run into this all the time. And so I'm sure some of the folks that are watching are like, okay, how does this, you know, as you've already been talking about, how does this apply to us in real life? And I mean, even just yesterday, I was talking with some of the guys on an accountability call about being in the moment with my 11-year-old and just some of the challenges with school and some of the frustrations that were coming up. And even within that, I was still able to kind of stop and step back for a moment, like you talk about, take that breath and catch some of my thoughts. And it allowed me to better control what I was saying to her to try and get the different information across. So I'd love for y'all to share if you've had those moments where it's almost like an outer body experience where you're looking at yourself and you're like, wait a minute, the way I'm coming off right now was not my intentions. And you have that split second to kind of catch yourself. And sometimes we still choose to go down that path, but we do have that moment where we can make a different distinction, right?
And actually, it's not a split second. It's about a whole second.
Oh,
So,
okay.
so instead of just going, hey, you have 1 second that you realize I'm about to say, hey, and convey all this negativity and energy in a situation where it's not going to do any good. It's not going to promote your values. It's not going to promote well-being in yourself or your child. You have that 1 second where it's important, I can tell you, to have a plan. Say,
Right.
what am I going to do instead of be impulsive? How do I implement my values in this moment?
That's good. I love it.
It's powerful. And that's the thing that they've studied, 1 second, it buys you a window. So that's a really powerful thing. Okay, so defining meditation, broadly, anything that trains the mind, right? More specifically, it's going to be the training of your awareness. There's two things that are important here. One is redirectability. Being able to redirect your awareness, like from that impulse to say, but I know I'm right, which is always when you know you're wrong, by the way. If I'm right and that's the only thing that matters, you're absolutely wrong. Just stop. You got to redirect to your values and to your plan to move forward in a positive way. Eventually, it also trains you that awareness to be more stable so that when the impulse to say, oh, I'm right and everyone else is wrong comes up, you realize, no, I'm just going to watch that go by. I'm going to watch it come and go. I don't need to get on that train. Always included in this, sometimes it's implicit, is a training of intention. The two things that are happening, I like to call a person a verb. We think of ourselves as a noun, and this is one of the worst mistakes in human history, I think. I'm a verb. What's happening right now is my awareness and my intention. My conscious awareness and my conscious intention are key. Unfortunately, there's a lot of unconscious awareness that's happening, unconscious intention that can take over in a moment's notice. So when we're training our awareness, we're actually also always changing the intention to be more stable and grounded, to be more organic. If you're living from your heart, your intention is going to be curious and kind, free of judgment, has equanimity. Really, instead of being judgmental, we're moving toward being observational, saying, well, it was a bad day. Well, that's okay for a starting point, but now describe it. Well, what happened was, I was late for work, and then my kids were upset, and I got upset with them, and everything was tough, and I just feel really distressed. The story I'm telling myself is I'm not good enough. Oh, okay, now we have described what's happening. We can do something about that. We just say it's bad. We kind of write it off and move on to the next thing. Now it's a problem I can't solve. But so moving to this place where instead of just labeling, we can be curious. We can look at things in a kind way. Because, it's even worse to say, oh, my kid's a bad kid. What a terrible thing to label your kid with.
That's right.
Usually I feel like all that's derivative. If I see myself doing that to my kid, it's because I know how to do it to myself. Right?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, so we got to come back to that always. Mindfulness meditation is a particular one. I'm going to define it in a way I think is useful right now. I am paying attention to the present moment on purpose, releasing judgments. So whenever I find a judgment in myself, I don't judge myself for being judgmental, which is the natural thing to do.
Right.
Beat myself up over it. Instead, I get curious about it, release the judgment in favor of curiosity in a kind way. Tricky parts. How do we practice paying attention? What does that mean? Well, I'll get really specific on that. Mindfulness is a spiritual practice. I like to think of myself as a plumber. We got to like clear the pipes, and I'm going to just go through this step by step. So it's really easy. It's not esoteric. Another part that this gets a little more esoteric is, who is the I that is paying attention? Every I that I find, when I call myself, I am doing this, I'm an observer. Now, I, the observer in my heart, when I'm at peace, am one kind of observer. In that moment when I start to flare up with, feeling of being threatened, so I'm angry or I'm scared or I'm ashamed or whatever it is, now I'm a different I have a different observer happening. So it's that becomes really rich when we start exploring that part of mindfulness.
Yeah, that's right.
Actually, that's a big part of my coaching as well.
That intention and intentionality, as you were talking about, right?
Yeah, exactly. The intention that's really deeply organic to our hearts is very different than the intention that can be happening up in our scheming little brains.
Yeah. And Dr. Doug, real quick along those same lines too, I think something that's crucial here, and a lot of us, maybe the reason a lot of guys kind of, write this off or don't want to look too deeply into it is, I think, because of our upbringings, and we're, reading the book right now about some of this, is we kind of close off our emotions, right? We're not very much or very well in tune with our emotions and why we're feeling the way that we're feeling. So we typically try and repress it and just push it off. But one of the things that happens with this is, why am I feeling the way I'm feeling?
Jump in, Curtis, because you're singing the right song here. What have I done there? Before I did that, I judged my emotions as bad.
Right.
Right. And that's understandable. As a kid, you can't separate your emotions from your behavior, from your identity. That's something you can only do as your brain develops into adulthood. Right. I mean, maybe a kid can do that, but I've never met that kid.
Right.
Kids can be miraculous, but this is a really important thing you're talking about. Releasing judgments. Oh, I'm not feeling bad. I'm feeling angry. I'm not feeling bad. I'm feeling heartbroken. It's not bad. It's part of life.
Right.
I mean, what are you gonna that's a shame-based response, by the way. That's the core to addiction. It's the core to toxic religion. If I'm a fundamentalist, where when I was saying earlier, I don't know anything about it personally. Yeah, I do. I'm right and everyone else is wrong, right? Never true. Never true. So yeah, if I'm feeling like there's a part of me that I'm not supposed to be, I think of that as an inorganic thought.
Right.
As a child, you learn how to curtail everything in order to obey and keep inside the lines. As an adult, you learn how to find, well, what's the right place for my anger? What's the right way to express it? What's the right place for me to be sexual? What's the right way for me to express it? And et cetera. And even that, the right is a story we tell ourselves. Really, it's how can I be these things in a way that is empathic, that's caring, that doesn't violate someone else, and that doesn't violate myself, and that adds to my life instead of detracts from it. It adds to my community instead of detract. Sometimes, we think, oh, if I'm selfish, that'll never work. But we've defined selfish as taking care of ourselves. So we got a lot of things to work through. Releasing judgments opens up whole new realms of possibility for more effective action.
That's good.
Anyway, so, okay, I think we can jump forward now. So misconceptions. I have to be good at paying attention. I can tell you I'm terrible at paying attention. I've been diagnosed with ADD by more than one person, and I'm a creative, so I don't want that to go away. I'm not judging that, but I don't have to be good at paying attention in order to practice meditation. As a matter of fact, I'm a perfect candidate. Next one, I have to stop my thoughts. Ain't gonna happen. If you're gonna stop your thoughts, that's called being brain dead. Your brain throws, last estimate I heard, 65, 75,000 thoughts at you from the back of your head. You're choosing to think maybe 10 to 15,000 thoughts a day. That's a lot of thinking. And most of it is just recycled stuff from yesterday. So most of it isn't even you choosing to think, right? It's just your brain doing it at you. You can't stop that, and you don't have to. It's perfectly fine. Next one, I will achieve a certain state of relaxation or focus when I meditate. No, sometimes, and it feels good for a while, you can get to that state. And other times, you know what? You won't. That doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. Again, I'm going to give you the concrete steps so that you can know you're doing everything just fine. If I meditate, I won't feel bad or get angry anymore. If you meditate, you're going to still say you feel bad. Hopefully then you'll start exploring it and get curious and be kind to yourself, because it's a moment that has suffering in it. Will you get angry? Yeah. I bet you'll get less angry than if you had not meditated. That's my guess of it. I can understand meditation by being taught by Dr. Doug or anyone else. Nope. It's like understanding running by reading a book about running. It doesn't matter. You run, it's a whole different gig. So practicing mindfulness is not anything that's going to happen until we actually practice it.
That's good.
So here are 6 distinctions. 1, there's 2 types of mindfulness, formal and informal. 2, there's different kinds of meditation. Mindfulness, body scan, compassion, and I threw in nature, just as we're going to get a little creative. I mean, this is just the beginning of the list. You could talk about music and art. There's all kinds of different ways to meditate, and beautiful ways. I can't get into all of them. I'd be here a long time. So the next one, the first one, formal meditation, is what most people think of. Like, I'm sitting with my, certain posture and all of that. All of that can be beautiful, but it's a practice set apart from the flow of life. I get up at 4:30 in the morning when my brain activity is at the lowest, and I have only one objective, and that is to practice. That's formal practice. It doesn't have to be at 4:30 in the morning. It can be whenever you can do it. But at any rate, informal practice is when you're practicing in the flow of life. And Curtis, you mentioned that a minute ago. You're like, I'm about to talk to my kids, and I realize I feel myself. Mindfulness bought you that moment. Then you take a breath, 3 breaths, and you're changing the way your brain works already. And so that's informal practice. Sharon Salzberg is a very noted practitioner who, at one point in time, I heard she wasn't really formally practicing at all. Hers is her favorite, I guess, is compassion practice. She's doing a lot of traveling, a lot of work, and she would just, like, as she's going through the airport, she'd just look at someone and begin to practice compassion toward that person, almost like saying a prayer for them.
Nice.
So yeah, or informal practice would be, Curtis, what you did with your kids in that moment. You're self-examining. And so yeah, informal practice is stuff we teach. When I'm at Vanderbilt, I still contract there some and teach CMEs. And the doctors who are struggling, we teach them some practices they can do at home. And then while they're walking down the hall or before they open the consulting room door, things like that.
Nice. See, and that's great for the folks that always want to say, oh, I'm too busy, or I don't have the time to set aside, and so on and so forth, to be able to do it as part of your daily habit, your life.
Yeah, there's a way to do it. Even if it's, informal, even if it's one breath, there's always a way. And anyway, the thing is, the more you do, the better. I think the Dalai Lama, with all of his responsibilities and aspirations to lead and change the world, he takes, I believe, 6 months a year and just meditates.
Right.
Somebody asked him, well, how long do you need to meditate before it makes a difference? And he laughed. He said, the rest of your life. And they said, yeah, I know, but how long should I meditate, before you can really, and he laughed again. He said, the rest of your life. So clearly a believer from his own experience of doing it.
That's right.
So mindfulness, how do you do mindfulness? This is the nuts and bolts. This is it right here. No mysteries. The only mystery is what will happen when you actually do it, because noticing your own experience in the midst of this, yeah, that's a rich mystery. That's a whole different gig. But here's the mechanics. You pay attention to something. A spot on the wall is one standard strategy. The sensations of your breath is another. Like I would often tell people, like, just watch the breath coming in and out of your nose. Feel the sensations of breathing on the inside of your nose. Now, the next step is notice that you're not paying attention. You started thinking about something, or something happened out there, down the street, there was a noise, and you just, whatever it is, and that happened. You didn't realize that happened until you did.
Right.
And often that's when people say, see, I can't meditate. That's just the next step. Because you don't start out with the ability to concentrate. You start out with the ability to, at some point, notice that you're not concentrating. So then you let go of the thought and return to your point of awareness. So if I was paying attention to my nose and I suddenly realized I was lost in thought, as soon as I realized that, I probably have another thought like, I can't do this. I'm no good, whatever it is. Okay, let it go. It's just another thought. Boom, back to your nose. Lather, rinse, repeat until enlightened, and then keep going. It's very basic. I think the first time I sat for 20 minutes to meditate, there were 2 moments when I noticed that I wasn't focused. The whole time I wasn't focused, but there's like 2 seconds in that 20 minutes. That was brilliant. Right? That's just what I needed. I didn't beat myself up. I just returned to my breath.
Doug and Jesse, I know you been on here. If you have any questions or story, if you want to pop in, you can. But Doug, something that's been the most amazing to me in the few months that we've been talking within DMD Plus, and same thing with Laura McElderry from Married to Doctors, is this whole notion of thoughts are not good or bad. I never had that awareness before that there's not a good or a bad thought, that is just what it is. And then our actions on it or our beliefs around that thought is what gives it the power.
Right.
I never recognized that before. Thoughts are not good or bad. Thoughts are thoughts.
Let's take it one step below that. Okay. When you realize that thought isn't me, it's just a thought.
Right.
And you do that by realizing I am not thinking. Like a common phrase is, a thought is like a cloud. You are the sky. The sky remains. The thoughts come, the thoughts go. Don't jump on a thought. Well, you're going to jump on the thought. When you realize you've jumped on the thought and you're just riding away with it, just step back. Now you're back. You focus on your body, or you focus on, a spot on the wall, and you realize 2 things go. Like if you're staring at something, if you're looking at a spot on the wall,
right,
one of 2 things happens. Either you look away, and now you realize I'm looking somewhere else, and you can return. Or you realize I'm staring. My eyes are there, but I'm somewhere else.
Right.
Lights are on, nobody's home. Either one, Elvis has left the building.
You're right. No, that's exactly right. I love it. And
Yeah.
Jesse, I see you unmuted. Did you have a question or a thought?
It's really along those lines, and maybe you feel like you've addressed it already. When I have tried to meditate in the past, I find the reason that I need to meditate is that I sometimes have issues with perseveration. It's like negative thoughts and spiral that don't go away. And when I sit down to meditate, my brain goes, quickly to a dark place, and I find it hard to just. And the advice that I've heard includes, something you were saying, regardless of like distantly and sort of empathically, like, oh, there's the thought, and then like pass. It doesn't always work for me, and then if somebody else says to write down, you know, the most important thoughts, but it's really negative ones. There's no need to write it down. I already know. And then, of course, there's the third sort of classical advice to get away with stuff. But I guess just generally, how would you meditation for somebody who sometimes experience separation?
Jesse, let me jump in because I'm actually struggling to hear exactly what you're saying, but I think I got the gist of it. Yeah. I said at the beginning, if you're really stuck and it becomes really painful, just don't do that. There's another thought I had. Again, there's several ways to do this, but the use of a mantra or a prayer can be really useful. Like if you sit down and you're focused on your breath, you can just count to 10. Each breath is 1, right? And as you breathe in and out, like breathe in, you focus on the sensations in your body. Breathe out, you say 1. You do that up to 10 and you start over. And honestly, I can get to 35 or I can lose my place at 3. It doesn't matter. You just go back. When you realize I'm at 35, you go back to 1. You realize I don't know where I stopped, but I just go back to 1 and 1 to 10, 1 to 10, 1 to 10, or a prayer. Like my brother is a pastor and he would jog to the Lord's Prayer. Or no, I think on his in-breath, he'd be Lord Jesus Christ. On the exhale, he'd say, have mercy on me. And that was his cadence, the cadence in the military will take you a long way, right? When those guys are running, they just,
left,
the
right, left
really helps. Well, and there's an entire arena of this called kirtan, where you sing the names of God, and they have all kinds of really creative names for God in I guess it's Hinduism, but the notion of if thinking is really powerful and negative, well, keep rehearsing a thought that's powerful and positive. That letting that be your meditation might be more stabilizing than the breath. And the other thing that I noted was yoga. Yoga is, you're paying attention to the breath as you move your body and you coordinate. So I'll inhale and exhale. I'm stopping just as my hands touch. It's not really a yoga move. I just made that up. But the point is, it takes more concentration to focus on the movement and breath coordination than it does to just, it stabilizes the mind more when I have more to focus on. And I might add to that the image of, the sky. And then, or I'm just making this up, but
right.
There's different possibilities for, I'm like the sky is opening up, or I'm focusing on a blade of grass, and I'm focusing on the sky. I'm focusing on a blade of grass. I just making stuff up with a good, again, it's usually a relationship with a yoga teacher who knows you and what you're struggling with and gives you a meditation that's just for you. So there's all kinds of possibilities there, Jesse. I hope some of those might be helpful to you.
Yeah, that's good. And I know, Doug, later on you're going to talk about some different apps in addition to working with actual, professionals. But like you said, for Jesse's situation, a guided meditation might work better than just a free mind flowing.
Actually, if we have time, I'm going to do a guided meditation.
Yep. So there you go.
Let's rock and roll because
that sounds good.
Always takes longer than you think it's going to.
No, I'm loving this. This is good, though. I think folks are getting something out of it.
I hope so. Yeah. I mean, I hope this can be a reference for people to really get this, because it's not hard to do. It's usually, if you understand, it's not hard to do. It's just hard to remember to do.
Yeah. And doing it with the right mindset.
Yeah. Well, you don't have the right mindset. Don't worry about that. You keep
Well,
doing it. You just keep doing it. You don't have to have the right anything. Just do it. That's how it works. Yeah.
there's a Nike, just do it.
So yeah. So the fourth distinction is a body scan, which is another beautiful meditation. And as you start out focusing on your breath, but then you gently move your awareness to different parts of your body. You can do this rapidly or slowly. It's often nice to be guided in this. This can be a great technique. Each time you focus on your calves, you relax them, and then you focus on your thighs and you relax them. And each breath you move and you move and you relax and you move and you relax. Your awareness moves, the relaxation moves. This can be great for getting back to sleep if you have insomnia. So a body scan is a really important kind of meditation. I'll just leave it at that. It's powerful for certain kinds of mental illness. The fifth one is a compassion, and this is so important. This gets to the intention piece of meditation, which is in the end, just if not more important than the awareness piece. Because it's about changing you. If you're going to change the world, change yourself. It's really basic. If you want to create the conditions for world peace, be the change.
That's right.
So you can, in a compassion meditation, you might start out imagining someone you care for deeply in an uncomplicated way. Really easy to just love this person and just focus on your heart feeling those feelings. Hold a kind intention toward that person. Now substitute in someone else. Usually it's like the bus driver, right? Someone periphery of your life. You can then substitute in someone you're in conflict with, someone you're upset with. See them from a place of compassion. Then you substitute in, maybe they're really challenging. We'll see them as a baby, helpless, young, full of possibility, but suffering. And then see them when they're elderly and frail. Fast forward their life into the future. And this helps us to see the humanity of people in a place of compassion. Ultimately, hate is not rational. Ultimately, anger is like an alarm clock. You need to turn it off. And you can't just turn off anger, but when you see things rightly, the anger melts away. When you see this person is suffering, when you see everything hurts, but below that, everything loves. Sometimes it's well hidden that everything loves.
Right.
And then, you put yourself in there. See yourself as someone who is suffering, someone who needs love. And by the way, there's two kinds of love. Loving kindness celebrates the beauty and the power and the truth that a person is. Compassion is how love meets suffering. And both are really important to hold a balanced view of someone, including yourself. And then you can move into holding compassion for your town, for your state, for your country, for the political parties, for the planet. Just, you can get creative. And we're going so fast through these. Each one of these deserves, our attention for a lifetime, but just to continue.
It's a good start.
Yeah, hopefully that's what I'm looking for, is a good start. Nature, going for a walk in nature. The last thing you want to do is take your phone. Focus on hearing and seeing all that is around you. The hearing and seeing of everything there in nature, drinking it in. It's very healing for your brain. Notice the feelings and sensations you have and you experience inside yourself as you walk and observe nature. And then again, lather, rinse, repeat until enlightened, which is, don't worry about that. Just keep doing it.
Yeah, exactly. Doug, as you're going on to the next one, something that's helped with this, something that just some of these things have helped me to realize is, like you were talking about, putting the phone down, looking at my screen time report and trying to, find the different ways, technological or just mental, to start putting the phone down. But what was interesting, as I started becoming more intentional about how I was spending my time and capturing those thoughts, the mindless, oh, let me just pick up my phone and see what's going on, or the random notification. Now, as I'm trying to be more thoughtful in how I'm going through my day, I'm not picking up my phone as much. I'm not on it as much as I used to be. And so it's amazing at how, as you start to notice those different thoughts, you're able to start to see different results.
Yeah, these phones are amazing devices. You can even, I'm going to teach you a bunch of apps that are on your phone.
Right.
Right. But all these notifications, they're designed to interrupt your concentration. I hope that there's 2 hours a day where you can turn your phone off, or at least silence everybody but a loved one in an emergency. I don't have that right now, but that's ideal,
Right.
And yeah, all this electronics we have, we're cyber beings, what's that word when you hybrid humans and technology?
Oh yeah, cyborg.
Cyborg. Yeah. Is that it? I don't know.
Something like that. I don't know, but
Something
the
like
world
that.
of AI.
Everyone out there can think of that except us, right? Anyway, do we have time to do a meditation?
Yeah, we have about 9 minutes before we hit the top of the hour. So yeah, I think we can take a couple of minutes and walk folks through what it could look like.
Okay. I don't think we'll get through this whole thing, but let's do a little bit. And this is from one of my favorite humans. Her name is Tara Brach. She's a renowned psychologist, longtime practicing Buddhist. So, I mean, her experience of meditation, I'm just going to read hers rather than make one up for you, because I've used it before and it's very beautiful. And so to start out, I'll just ask you if you can attend to this, feel free to do so in a way that works for you. This is a simple introduction to Vipassana, which is a Pali word meaning clear vision. Find a sitting position that allows you to be alert, spine erect, but not rigid, and also relaxed. Close your eyes if that feels comfortable to you, or keep your eyes below the level of the horizon so you're looking down, to stabilize the mind. And rest your hands in an easy, effortless way. Allow your awareness to scan through your body, and wherever possible, soften and release obvious areas of physical tension. You might very consciously relax and let go of the jaw, the shoulders, soften the hands, relax the belly. Because we so easily get lost in thoughts, let's begin with attention to the breath. Using the breath as a primary anchor of mindfulness helps quiet the mind so that you can be awake to the changing stream of life that moves through you. As you practice, you might find that a different anchor, one other than the breath, might be most useful for you, perhaps sounds, or perhaps the whole field of bodily sensations, or perhaps listening and feeling your moment-to-moment experience. What's important is that your senses are awake, and attention with breath is a home base, or sounds or sensations that can help you know that you're here. Take a very few full breaths, aware of the inhale filling the lungs, slowly and gently exhaling, and then allow your breath to be natural. Notice where you most easily detect the breath. You might feel it as it flows in and out of your nose. You might feel the touch of the breath around your nostrils or on your upper lip, or perhaps you feel the movement of your chest. or the rising and falling of your abdomen. Bring your attention to the sensations of breathing in one of these areas, perhaps wherever you feel it most distinctly, or you might feel a sense of the whole body breathing. There is no need to control the breath, to grasp or fixate on it. There is no right way to breathe. With a relaxed, interested attention, discover what your breath is really like as a changing experience of your sensations. You'll find that the mind naturally drifts off into thoughts. Thoughts are not the enemy, and you don't need to clear your mind of thoughts. Rather, you're developing the capacity to recognize when thoughts are happening without getting lost in the storyline. When you become aware of thinking, you might use a soft and friendly mental note, thinking, thinking, or simply recognize this is a thought. Become aware of the difference between being inside a thought and being awake, senses open, present. Then, without any judgment, pause and reawaken to the moment, this moment. Listening to the sounds, feeling the sensations that are here, gently returning to the immediacy of the breath. Let the breath be a home base, a place full with presence. Take 3 intentional breaths and begin to transition your awareness to the outside. Notice the temperature of the air on the back of your hands, on your cheeks. And notice the light on the outside of your eyelids if your eyes are closed. And then as you're ready, go ahead and open your eyes. Now I want to thank you for joining me in this short practice.
Yeah, that was nice.
Well, Curtis, Jesse, if either one of you would be willing to share, what did you notice? And let me give you a little bit of a menu. You might notice your body sensations in a different way.
Right.
You might notice the kind of thoughts you're having, the speed of the thoughts you're having change, kind of the weather in your mind may shift when you do a practice like this.
No, I thought it was great. I like the guided meditation and giving you something to focus on. As you were talking about the breath and where it was at, I was noticing those things. I was able to start noticing the different things in my body and how it's responding to the 2 workouts a day and those areas of tension and stretching that needs to happen. But it's just amazing how when you start to clear your mind or focus on that one thing, how you can start to notice some of those deeper things that are going on. So no, that even just those few minutes, I mean, what was that, 3-4 minutes is just so helpful.
Yeah, wonderful. And Jesse, I mean, hopefully, that was a distinction I didn't even think of when you asked your question, but a guided meditation is usually much more helpful in a situation where if your thoughts keep coming, like I can have really distressing thoughts because, they're causing pain. Well, sitting down to meditate might not work at that point, but sitting down to a guided meditation, that can be a whole different experience. So that's another possibility.
Yeah, that was really helpful for me just now. My my mind still managed to wander off into the deeper waters, sort of dark water territory. But because you were still talking, it helped bring it back a lot more quickly, I think, than like if kind of be quiet or something. So.
Yeah. So then, you get to decide, well, when you get done with that, is that a net positive? Is that is there a negative in there that I'm not willing to deal with? And then, sometimes mindfulness really isn't the right choice. And, I think yoga, Tai Chi, or even sometimes martial arts, for guys who are super intense, martial arts is a meditation if you do it right.
Yeah.
With
that, I did feel noticeably more relaxed by the end of the exercise. So I think it helps. So thanks very much for that.
Very welcome. Thanks, Jesse. Okay, I think, resources. I did a quick review when I plugged in meditation, and here's some apps that I'm familiar with because people have said great things to me about them. Calm is a very popular one. Breathe. Insight Timer is one that I've used a lot. Headspace, 10% Happier. Plum Village is actually an app associated with Thich Nhat Hanh, who's a very powerful meditator. Another thing, dharmaseed.org, Dharma Seed, SEED.org, has thousands of teachings. If you want to have guided meditations, you can listen to people who teach about meditation. You can listen to guided meditations that they do. And on the Insight Timer app, when I got it, it was just like, here's a timer, here's a journal for afterwards. and then it was, here's the people around you. But now they have wonderful teachings associated there as well. So there's all kinds of different possibilities there. If anybody wants to contact me, you're welcome to do so. I forgot to even tell you how to do that. My website is changetimeisnow.com, and it has all my contact information on there. But that's, I think that's pretty much everything, unless there are more questions. We kind of addressed those along the way, I hope, because it looks like we're out of time.
Yeah. As I was going through, it seems like the different questions, that we addressed them and you covered them in the information from the different PowerPoints. So, Doug, I think this has been phenomenal. Yeah, this has been great. So they can find you at Change Time Is Now.
Changetimeisnow.com. I thought it was really clever, and then I realized, like, usually when you Google that, people think you're looking for how to change your daylight savings. No!
Such is the world, right?
There's always that law of unintended consequences, right?
Hey, but at least you did something, right? Look, you took action, you got it out there. So changetimeisnow.com. Y'all can always find Dr. Doug. You can find him through DMD, or let me know if you're looking for him. And then, of course, if you're part of our DMD Plus, you can find him in there, where he does conversations like this, or also helps to facilitate different workshops, or even has his own course area where he facilitates regular conversations for those that are looking for, more dedicated and insightful information. So, Dr. Doug, thank you again for your time. Really appreciate your insight today.
Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, most definitely. And Jesse, thank you for sharing your time with us today, and your questions and sharing your information. So
thanks for hosting, and thanks, Doug.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Yeah, and Doug, if you want to stop sharing your screen.
Oh, yeah.
There you go. But folks, thank y'all for joining us. As y'all know, on as y'all know, with Dads Married to Doctors, we're always looking for ways to bring just different opportunities, new and exciting information, different ways for us to all become better parents, better husbands, and better men. So thank you for joining us. You can definitely check out, we're going to be adding a lot more resources to dadsmarriedtodoctors.com. We're actually expanding our resources area, as well as our video collection. So you'll start seeing some new things like this video here pop up on YouTube. So feel free to continue to follow us and everything that we're doing.